Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Pony Podcast. We are very excited that this episode is brought to you with the sponsorship of Rider Focus Physiotherapy.
Rider Focus Physiotherapy is a practice based in Hampshire, and they specialise in treating horse riders. They've got riders like Alice Oppenheimer and Charlotte Desjardins amongst their clients. It's run by the lovely Hannah Gadsden, who's a 3-star event rider, so she knows exactly what sort of problems you're going to have as a rider and also what you want. So she's not going to tell you not to do anything for 3 days because she knows you're going to muck out your horse.
We are so grateful for all of Hannah's support because we are riders and very broken, and it's saving us money and time because she's fitting in so well with our schedules.
They don't have a specific clinic. They run little clinics all over Hampshire and Surrey at different yards, so there might be one nearby to you. And they also run rider assessments, so they can see you ride and then do a bit of work on you and use some exciting techniques with you on the horse to get your posture better and also to improve how effective you are on the horse.
They also run rider Pilates sessions and simulator sessions using the mechanical horse at Sparsholt College. So if you want to find out more about their sessions and you want to go yourself, head to their website at riderfocusphysiotherapy.co.uk.
And also you can find them on Facebook and Instagram, and they're just Rider Focus Physiotherapy.
Hope you guys enjoy.
Okay. Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Pony Podcast. Today we're going to talk all about feeding. So we're going to give you some basic rules on how to feed your horse and also some different types of feed and what they can do to your horse.
For those of you who've been here since day one, you will know that we did do feeding as a really early episode, but we've just improved so much since then, since we were sat cross-legged on the floor in Nick Walnut's rug room, because it wasn't even the tack room then, it was the rug room.
No, I'm not going to feed you. Go away.
My dog is looking for food and just appeared in Alex's armpit. Anyway, we've improved so much since then, so we thought we'd re-record and we'd give you guys another little rundown on the rules of feeding and everything like that. I know, darling, ironically, you really want food.
He says, you're talking about food, I need feeding.
You really want food. Oh, he's pushing my leg all the way around now. Okay. Well, before we start, we'll start with a little quick review of some products that Noble Equestrian really kindly sent us that we've been really enjoying.
Mm-hmm. This is really timely because they've actually got a sale on at the moment, so that you can get up to 70% off some of their items.
Okay, we're going back.
Some of the ones that we've tried, and these are all winter ones. So I would advise, because there's still 2 months or 3 months of winter left, if you can find them.
You know what I'm going straight back for?
What?
These socks that I'm wearing at the moment.
Oh, the boot ones.
Yeah.
I got a pair free with my wellies. They're great.
Well, I am converted. Like, they're life-changing.
What are they? What are they for everyone?
They are the perfect fit boot socks. And man, they're warm. Like I said last time, that I didn't really like the pedis because they weren't like compression-y around the foot. These are nice and compression-y, and I have some compression socks that are really hot, like actual compression socks, which are really tough to get on, and they feel really good once they're on, but you sweat getting them on. They're just perfect, and they're so warm, and they're so just like a little hug for your foot. They're so nice. I'm such a fan. Such a fan. Like I wear them pretty much until they can like stand up by themselves, and then they go in the wash. Like, I love them. What's your favourite of your products?
Oh, I don't know. I have lived pretty much in the soft shell breeches.
The breeches,
The breeches, they're so good. Like, I get really bad chilblains in the winter, and the only way up till now that I've managed to stop it is having thermal tights on, and then breeches on top.
Yeah.
But with these, I can just have the breeches.
Yeah.
Oh, and also I've had to have waterproof trousers on top because of the windbreak, and I hardly need that with these.
I started off, because I got mine like in the middle of the summer because I didn't realise that they were fleece lined because I didn't read the product description. And I was a bit nonplussed because I didn't really like the grippy knees and stuff like that. But now the grips kind of like calm down a little bit.
Mine has too.
I really like. I wear them most days to ride in.
The only thing I would say was their fit was a bit weird.
Yeah.
So like they were a bit wide around the waist.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have wanted them any tighter on my legs.
Yeah.
So I've got a belt on them, and that's fine. They fit fine with a belt.
Yeah.
But
I find the fit on them, I think I found this similar, but then I got quite a small size because I know that I'm really narrow on the waist, so I got quite a small size. So them I found all right. The soft shell leggingy jobs, his name,
The soft shell balance riding tights.
the balance riding tights, not so much of a fan of, because
Okay.
I am quite, like, I've got decent thighs and they're quite tight around the thigh, but they're too big around the waist, and I think I got the same size, but the waist is definitely too big, and where it's like a legging, if I put a belt on them, they just like duck below the leggings, you know, and they're like held up by the belt loops, but like there's gaps around the belt loops, so I'm not such a fan of that. But the fleece lining I like.
Yeah.
I'd stick with the riding tights. I prefer a breech as well. I like having an actual fastening and stuff.
And I like with the breeches that someone's thought that they're meant to be showerproof.
Yeah.
So they've got zip pockets.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, well, that will also keep the water out.
Yeah. I thought that as well, actually. And I was worried that because I felt like it was quite low down on the leg, I worried that my earphones wouldn't reach. And they do when I'm riding. When I'm standing up there, it's a bit annoying. It's slightly too far.
Oh.
But, and you know how I feel about my Townsend breeches with the massive pockets. They're, you know, they've both pairs have died now, and it's a source of quite considerable upset.
You also had one of the cozy cows.
Yeah, love that a lot. It's quite the only thing I found is it's quite narrow on the arms.
Okay.
And I do have fairly muscular arms.
I think most people do some work on the arms.
That is what I figured as well. I figured most people who are lifting hay bales around have some bicep. And so I do find it's a bit tight on the arm, and I probably couldn't roll up the sleeves. But other than that, it's so nice. And it just having the stuff around my neck so that it keeps the drafts out, because I do find I get a drafty neck. And I really, really like it.
Like having an inbuilt scarf.
And I ran in it the other day because it's got like a drawstring, so you can like tighten it under your chin, because otherwise it like flaps about as you run. So if you tighten it under your chin, then it doesn't. And I ran to yoga in it, and it's just perfect.
We both got the Dynamic Performance Parka, which is like a long raincoat with a hood.
I really like that.
I really like mine too.
Yeah.
I have used it for teaching.
Yeah.
And it's warm because we got the one that had a little bit of a fill.
Yeah.
And it's not so thick that it's like a winter coat.
Yeah.
But it's just enough, because sometimes when they don't have a fill, I find that the wind just goes right through you.
Yeah.
And I like the pockets are fleece lined as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that as well. And I thought, because they're like the opening's just on the top and not like on the side, I thought they'd be really annoying to get my hands in. And I do like having my hands in my pockets. But actually, they're at the right kind of level that you can just pop them in.
Yeah. And I also had the winter riding gloves.
Yeah.
I have to say, I've only ridden in them once.
I was very jealous. I went for a ride in my parka and was very jealous that you had those gloves.
Well, they were fine, but I find a lot with the winter gloves, because they put padding in them, it makes them a bit tighter when you ride, and then they don't keep you warm because you haven't got the air to heat up around your fingers because you're holding the reins. So actually, I've been teaching a lot in them rather than riding, and they are amazing because they're waterproof too.
Yeah.
So I normally find when I'm lifting poles around on wet sand that
nice.
I get that the gloves get wet or my hands get wet, and then they're cold.
Yeah.
But because these are waterproof,
perfect.
they just dust off, and it's great. And like, because then you're just wearing them as gloves. Oh, they're so warm. They're amazing.
I do struggle. I've got really bad circulation in my fingers and my toes. And I do struggle with having cold hands and cold feet. And I know if I wear, like, even if I wear gloves, quite often I don't have the circulation to heat the air up around my hands. So I pair something like a big glove with, Chimera.
Yeah.
So it's like infrared sportswear, and the infrared pumps, like, speeds up your circulation, and I'll wear those gloves. They do like glove liners, so like a thin layer, and they're really for runners, but I'll put like the glove liner on, and then a like big thick glove on top, and the glove liner like pumps the circulation up, and then you have something to warm up the air around your fingers, because otherwise I'm just a cold hand in a cold glove.
But no, even these, like, you can, if my hands are wet and cold, put them on and I'm nice and warm.
That's so good.
And the last thing that we had to try, I had the Women's Perfect Fit all season boots.
Yeah.
So like wellies, but they're waterproof from the bottom, neoprene.
Yeah.
And oh my God,
Really?
they are amazing. I love them so much because with normal wellies, because they've got no insulation, they're cold.
Yeah.
But my feet just heat up in them. Like my feet have never been cold wearing these wellies.
That's so good.
And they're completely waterproof.
Because I'm always a bit sceptical of a neoprene welly.
No, these are amazing.
Really?
I love them. Well, I think it also helped that until I got them, I was wearing plastic bags inside my wellies.
Yeah.
So my feet were kind of wet and cold. And
That
then suddenly to have wellies that were waterproof was just like the best thing ever. So that might have skewed my judgment.
What's the footbed on them like? Because I find in wellies where they're really flat, I'll end up with like sore ankles and stuff where my feet
No, these are actually really... So I have the problem normally that I have quite a high instep.
Yeah.
So if I have a boot that's quite rigid, I can't get my foot in. And I'd asked for a 6 because I thought, oh, winter socks.
Yeah.
And in the end, they ended up sending me a 6.5 because they didn't have the 6 in stock. And I was like, oh, they're going to be massive. But because it's quite well padded, it's actually not too big.
Oh, that's good.
And it like holds your foot a bit.
Yeah.
And once they're on, it's like end of your foot, end of your leg, and it's great. Oh, they're so nice. So nice. I would 100% recommend. I think to the point that when we asked them to try, they were out of stock in the most popular sizes. Just shows how popular they are, that everyone else likes them too.
Yeah, they are good. The only thing I want them to make now is I want like a duvet coat. You know those long ones.
Yes.
Because like when we were out in Switzerland, or even in the Noble one, I was chilly. I was a bit chilly, and there were several people who had those big duvet coats. And
well, when we go to Beta,
I'm gonna
have a chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a chat. I'm gonna say I want a big duvet coat. Thank you very much. Thanks. Nobler question. You're right.
Okay, so moving on to the actual episode now.
Yeah, we chatted for a while about rubbish.
We had a few stuff to talk about. Yeah, it's fine.
There's no change. Feeding.
Yay.
Feeding.
I wanted to do a rap, but Tess wouldn't let me.
We, by all means, do a rap right now. I'm not doing it with you.
I haven't made one, so.
We've had this discussion before where you wanted to do a rap about like worming or something, and I was like, "Hear this voice? This voice does not rap. This voice can try to rap, and no."
Be prepared for the YouTube videos, guys. At some point, it's going to happen. It's going to be a pony care rap.
Oh yeah, okay. It'll be you and your sisters. Hello. My little dog.
Little dog. It's enormous.
He is a little dog.
Right.
I'll put a photo on our Instagram. He's a little dog.
Cut this bit.
Right. Rules of feeding.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, am I starting?
Sure.
You're looking at me like you didn't want to say anything. Okay, so
I know some of them.
I've got a list right in front of us.
I know, but it's pointing at you.
Okay, so you need to have clean and fresh water available at all times.
Yeah. That's because horses produce loads and loads of saliva. And they need to be able to produce loads and loads of saliva so they can digest stuff. Feed little and often.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact about water.
Yeah.
I learnt from my age.
Okay.
So you know how you always like clean the water, put new water in every day, even if they haven't drunk all the water, you've still got to scrub it. Yeah. And do you know why?
Because otherwise it's gross.
Well, it's gross, but if they say this been sat in the stable for like 2 days and your horse hasn't been in, but it's still full.
Yeah.
The water gets deoxygenated, deionized.
Deoxygenated.
Which is why you have to replenish it.
Also, if you keep the water in while you muck out the stable, you as you like take the wet out, release ammonia into the air, and that's what like is the real strong smell when you open when you dig out like a really wet bed. And ammonia is really, really, really soluble. So it dissolves in the water and it makes the water really gross because it's full of ammonia. So that's why you should always do your water after you've mucked out and make sure it's all nice and clean and not disgusting.
And we also, because we know horses are really fussy, if their water's not nice, they probably won't drink it. And so, because they need a lot of water, it's not good.
Yeah. How much water do they need? Because that was one of our facts for the first one.
Yeah, they drink somewhere between 27 and 54 litres a day.
54 litres, that is a lot.
Yeah. And their body is 60 to 70% water. And if they lose 20% of their water, it can be fatal.
Yeah. You know, in humans, if you get like 5% dehydrated, it has the same effect as if you're drunk. So
next rule is little and often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Little and often.
Yeah.
Because horses are grazing animals.
Yeah. And their stomach is only the size. It's everyone's favourite fact when they do their test. Everyone's always like, the stomach's the size of a rugby ball, because that's obviously an image that people just really sticks with them. But if you keep putting stuff in one end, it doesn't like get fuller and fuller and fuller. It just pushes stuff out the other end. And if it's undigested when it comes out the other end, then it's undigested and you're wasting feed.
Yeah.
What is the next one?
Feed according to your horse, basically. So work, so the type of work it's doing, the amount it's doing, the temperament of your horse, the condition of your horse, the age, the type of horse you've got, whether you've got like a thoroughbred or a cob, and the weather, because sometimes they get a little bit fresh in the winter when it's cold and they've been clipped.
Yeah, and they might need a little bit more padding in the winter.
Yeah.
Keep them a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
We had a new forest pony that we fed straight oats because it was so lazy. Did not help.
This is the first winter that I'm having to up my horse's feed. Because my horse normally has a serious weight problem and she comes out the winter looking like a show pony. And she's like a little bit well covered. And this year she's looking amazing, but like a little bit on the skinny side. And I'm like, oh.
My horse, this is the first year she's kept any top line over the winter. Normally she has muscle, but she looks a bit poor when she comes out the other side. And this year she looks incredible.
Part of me wonders if it's having done a bit of yard changing, a bit of stress, and also there not being a lot of grass.
Yeah.
Because before I moved, she was in all the time, so she was always having hay.
Yeah.
But when she's out in the field and there's no grass, and I'm still giving her lots of hay, but it's still she's sort of picking at it like, this is pathetic. I don't want to eat this.
Yeah. The next rule is you should feed at the same time, so you should find like a routine and feed your horse at the same time every day. And that's because they are obviously creatures of habit, like they're used to having their own little routine. And if you always feed them as soon as they see you, they'll see you and they'll start salivating. And as we said earlier, saliva is really, really important for digestion. It's slightly alkali and it helps to neutralise stomach acid before your horse starts digesting stuff. And it's important for their routine that they learn to do that at the same time. And they always have something put into their stomach as soon as they start salivating.
And it's really interesting because people always say feed at the same time, but horses have no concept of a 24-hour cycle.
They don't own a wristwatch.
No, so it's more to do with your routine.
Yeah.
So with my horse, I do feed at the same time every morning, but in the evening it's kind of movable feed because of when I finish teaching versus when I get to the yard. Like after recording this, I've got to go feed my horse.
Yeah.
But it's when I arrive.
Yeah.
And the light goes on and she's like, food, brilliant, I've probably forgotten.
Yeah. Ours is, because we live next door to the yard, so we're always the first ones on. So she knows that as soon as Mum comes on the yard, she gets her food. And because she's Mother's little princess, she knows she gets fed first. She is Mum's favourite child.
Oh well, at least you know that.
I know, exactly.
Don't work your horse hard after feeding it.
I feel like this one is a little bit subject to interpretation.
Yes.
Because like horses like racehorses and ulcer-prone horses, you give them a scoop of chaff before you work them, because it sits on the top of their stomach acid like a little mat, and it stops it bubbling up and splashing on the walls of the stomach that aren't like treated for that sort of thing. But you don't want to give your horse like a massive, great big bran mash and then go out hunting immediately.
The way I think about it is if you're going to go for a run and you eat a banana, you'll be fine. Yeah. If you go for a run straight after you've eaten your Sunday roast, you're going to feel very sick. Yeah. That's like the way I think about it. And the same as people are always like, oh, don't feed them after you've worked them. Well, it's the same kind of thing. Like if you just run a marathon, you're not going to want to sit down and eat your Sunday lunch, are you? But if you've been out like swimming or whatever, and you're hungry, you're going to want a small snack. Yeah. So depending on the size of feed you give your horse,
and how hard you're working.
Yeah, and how hard you're working your horse.
Realistically, if you've been out for like a 20-minute walk, they're going to be grand. Like they'll be fine.
I work on the basis if they're still blowing, don't feed them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Next one is feed them plenty of roughage.
So that basically translates to like ad lib hay, which is the best one.
Hay, haylage grass.
I do not like people measuring out how much hay the horses get, because some horses don't eat it and some horses just mush it around in their bed, which is fine. Just give them a bit less or give them more like doses of small amounts. But like my horse loves her hay and will eat and eat and eat until she's done, and then she'll come back and then she'll eat and eat and eat. And when there was a yard I was at where we were measuring how much the horses were given, and they were only allowed their 10 kilos a day and they weren't allowed any more at all. and they had to have it in these specific clumps of 2 kilos and 1 kilo, and she was miserable, and it definitely gave her ulcers. Like,
Aw.
definitely. And she'd like, you'd come around the corner and she'd see the hay cart and she'd be like, and she'd just watch you like, it's coming, it's coming. And I swear she was going, and she's not like a destructive horse, and she started like eating her rugs. She'd try and tip her water over. When she did get her hay, it went straight in her water. God, it was a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. It was so annoying. And there are lots of different types of roughage that you can feed as well. So you can do hay, or you can do haylage if you want more sugar in there, or you can do steamed hay, which gets rid of some of the dust and the spores in there. You can soak your hay to take some of the nutrients out of it.
Yeah. Ideally, you want 2/3 or more of their diet to be made up of roughage.
Yeah, but that includes grass.
Yes.
So if they're out in the field for half the day, they're doing well.
Yeah. Next one is to make changes to your horse's feed gradually.
Why is that?
Because the gut bacteria need time to change so they can digest the new food.
Yeah. So their cecum, which is like the bit of their gut between the large intestine, the small intestine and the large intestine, is full of bacteria, and the bacteria do all of their digesting for them. They don't actually have the necessary engineering inside them to digest cellulose, which is what plant cells are made of. So they rely on their bacteria to do it all for them, and the bacteria also does all of like the hard feed that you give them, everything like that. But they're really specific to whatever the food stuff is, so you've got to give the population in there time to adjust to any changes.
And by time we mean like 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And then just build up gradually to what you want, like a handful, then maybe like a quarter of a scoop if you're going to half a scoop, that on the 3rd day. And the reason it's so important is that if you don't do it gradually, there's a chance that they'll colic because they won't be able to digest the food, or they'll just poo it straight out.
Yeah,
because it's not going to get digested.
Yeah, which is not ideal. And that's how you get impaction colics, because they haven't digested it properly.
Yeah.
Which is gross. If you give a horse a square of hay, because the cecum acts like a really big fermenter and gets really warm, they'll get more heat from like a square of hay, from digesting a square of hay, than they do from putting a rug on.
Oh, that's interesting.
Did I give you that fact last time? You
No,
look
I
really
don't think so.
look really unimpressed by it.
No, I think I've heard it before, but it was interesting to make it all scientific.
That's what I'm good at.
Next one is to make sure that your feed is good quality.
Yeah.
Mainly because horses are fussy and they might not eat it if it's been sat around for a while, and also it can be harmful if like the mice have chewed a hole in the bottom of the bag or it's mouldy hay.
You don't want to be like, if it is gone mouldy, like you don't want to be feeding them a whole load of mold, because you don't know, all the bacteria is not designed for that kind of thing, and your bacteria is not going to be mold ready, and then you're going to get colic from it. And you don't know, like some bacteria and some mold, they metabolize food and stuff into alcohol and into acid and stuff, which you don't want your horse eating.
You've got to be especially careful with things like haylage with this, because if the bag's been punctured and the air's been allowed to get in the bacteria, it can cause the haylage to start to ferment.
Yeah.
And if your horse then eats that, there's a possibility they can get botulism poisoning, which is from the bacteria.
That's the same bacteria as Botox.
Is it?
Yeah, that's why.
Fun.
So if you have a horse that has botulism poisoning, they go really stiff, and it's a paralytic, so it paralyzes them. And botulism, when you have it as Botox, it paralyzes your facial muscles, which is why it gets rid of your wrinkles.
For those of you that can't see, Tess just did a brilliant demonstration of what Botox does with her hands on her face.
But yeah, so that's your... I've been full of fun facts today.
2 more.
Actually killing them, yeah.
Feed something succulent every day.
Yeah.
This is mostly important if they're stable all the time, because because normally if they're in the field, that's your grass.
Grass counts as succulent, yeah.
Yeah, so you want to make sure they have like some apples or carrots, but cut them up, and you can take them out for a hand graze.
Yeah. It's anything that's got like water in it that they're gonna eat and chew and get the water. So like your fruits, your vegetables. They can have swede and stuff like that. That's a succulent.
And parsnips.
And parsnips and turnips.
Yeah.
Turnips.
Some people put a bit of string through a turnip or a swede, and they hang them on the stable door, and it's like a treat.
And the horses munch them.
Yeah.
We were given parsnips to give to our horses once, and they did not like them at all.
I've fed pears to my horses. They quite like them.
Yeah.
And my old pony, he used to like plums.
Oh,
but I have to bite. No, but I'd be like eating a plum, and then once I'd got to the bit where you hit the stone out, I'd like given the rest of it. And he'd be like,
Aw.
yummy.
I had a friend whose horse liked bananas, but specifically really, really mushy bananas. So he'd like, you'd give it to him still in the skin,
Mhm.
and he'd like chomp on the skin, and it would go in his mouth.
Ah.
Which is disgusting. She also used to feed him fruit. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but she'd feed him fruit pastels, and they'd get stuck in his teeth. So for the next 10 minutes, he'd be like trying to lick them out of his teeth.
For those of you that listen to our prohibited substances episode, fruit
Don't
pastel's
do
probably
that.
not okay.
Okay, next one.
Last one
Last one
is make sure you have clean utensils.
clean utensils. So like clean feed bowls, clean spoon, because you don't want it all getting crusty.
Yeah, because others they might not eat because it smell weird. And also, if you've got any horses on medication, you don't want cross contamination.
No. Prohibited substances once more. Yeah, that's quite an easy one, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people do that.
How much should you be feeding your horse?
Well,
weight?
it depends on the horse, obviously, but roughly your dry feed.
2.5%.
So roughly, the dry feed in your horse's diet should make up 2.5%.
Yeah.
Which includes like all your hay and your grass as well.
Yeah.
And then within that, you divide that up depending on how much work they're doing or
what type of pony they are, what a good doer they are.
Yeah, so like if your horse is on like maintenance, like living in the field, you might feed them between 0 and 5% of that 2.5% as hard feed.
Yeah, there's a lot of percentages.
It's not too bad because say you have a 500 kilogram horse, which is about 15.2.
Yeah.
Then the amount you're going to feed your horse is going to be 10% of that is 50 kilograms.
Yeah.
Half of that is 25 kilograms.
Yeah.
And then half again, which is a 2.5, is 12.5 kilograms. So of your 15.2, you're feeding them about 12.5 kilograms of feed a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Total.
You say it's about 15.2. Piglet's not 500. She's 16.1 and she's not 500 kilograms because we used to weigh her every day.
Oh.
So we used to weigh at Harry's. The horses get weighed every day. His top horse was nearly, I want to say nearly 800 kilograms, but it definitely wasn't nearly 800 kilograms. I think it was nearly 700 kilograms. And Piglet was barely pushing 500. So there's a good 12.2 pony between Piglet and Harry's top horse.
Wow.
And he was a big, strong horse, but
it just goes to show adventures come in all shapes and sizes, doesn't it?
I mean, exactly. What's next on your list?
What's next on my list? So you can get lots of different types of feed.
Yeah.
The main ones that you can get cubes, also known as nuts, and mixes. Basically they're the same thing, but mixes have all been mashed up and put into little pellets. Yeah. And they are the nuts.
Yeah. And you basically can't tell what's in a nut unless you look on the contents list of the bag. Yeah. Because it's all mushed up and it's just in a little pony nut.
But if you have a fussy horse, that's better because they all look the same and they can't be like, I like the maize, I'm just going to eat the maize. Which my old pony Thunder, he's so fussy. He doesn't like sugar beet. So what he used to do was he'd eat all the pony nuts, he'd eat most of the chaff but not the really long stalky bits, and he would leave all the sugar beet.
How?
He literally, with his nose, was whiffling it all round. And he literally left the sugar beet.
You go, you know what, fair enough. If you're going to that much effort, I'll give you that. You can not have the sugar beet. I can't believe it. We used to have...
It was a nightmare to feed for endurance.
We had a really, really old pony. Our first pony was 40, I think, when we got him. And he had basically no teeth left. So he had to be given sugar beet, but sloppy enough that he could drink it. And he'd literally just have a bucket of that. And he'd just slurp away his soup for dinner. I've still got one of his teeth upstairs.
You said that in the last episode, I think.
Still got it.
I'm waiting for a picture to appear on Instagram.
Well, I'll go find it later.
With the cubes and the mixes, you need to make sure different brands will do the same thing, but it'll say something different on the packet. Yeah. So sometimes it's really good to make sure you read the ingredients to make sure that it is actually the same thing that you're feeding your horse.
Yeah. Some ponies have really random reactions to stuff as well. Like I had a mare who had a really bad. She would just, if something had like barley, I think, in it, she would go ballistic. Even if it was like a feed that was marketed as being a calming feed or like a calming condition or something. If it had barley in it, she would go nuts. And like we had her on one. And I remember for about 2 weeks, I couldn't get her to trot in the school. She'd get in the school and she'd canter, and we'd just canter around for like 40 minutes, and I could not make her trot or walk. And I took her to a competition, and anyone who approached her in anything more than a walk, she'd rear, spin, and bolt to the other end of the arena.
Wow.
For everything. Every horse coming towards me at a dressage competition. It was horrible.
I remember someone... I know, so they were selling a horse and they reacted to maize. So they wrote in its passport, do not feed anything with maize in, because then it was like passing it on to the next person.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you can get in mixes and cubes are things like oats, which you can get whole, bruised, rolled or crushed.
Yeah.
And if you're feeding them straight, you've got to be careful, because once they've been processed, they only last about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then they start to go stale and don't do as much for your horse. Barley, you can't feed whole.
Yeah, because you have to break the husks, because otherwise they can't digest it.
Yeah, so they can be fed rolled, crushed, micronized, or boiled. You can also get maize in mixes.
Yeah.
This is really good if you need to put weight on.
So maize is the same as sweet corn, so it's the stuff that looks like a squished sweet corn.
You also don't want to feed it whole.
No.
It's got to be micronized, and they have a high carbohydrate content.
Yeah. You get peas in mixes as well. They're the green ones. Yellow ones and green ones.
And the reason some horses react to it, like the one that I said, is because of the carbohydrates. Like once they've been converted, it leads to high blood sugar.
Yeah.
So they're like, ding! Like eating a banana.
Like, a banana is not carbohydrates. It's just a lot of sugar.
I thought it was like really low carbohydrates. Like
Maybe.
quick release, not slow release.
Quick release would be sugar.
You're the biologist, I'm assuming you're right.
Okay. There is some carbohydrate in there, just a lot of sugar. But you're right, sugar does give you... So if you have carbohydrate in the morning, it gives you a blood sugar spike at like 9, 10 o'clock. So like if you have toast for breakfast, which I do a lot, it quite often will make you hungrier before lunch, because you'll have a blood sugar spike about 9, 10 o'clock, and then you have a crash right afterwards, and then you'll be starving at like 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And then you've got another 2 hours for lunch. You're better off having protein for breakfast, because it keeps you fuller for longer. So you're better off having like eggs for breakfast, or kippers, but that's a really old-fashioned thing, or like sausages or something like that.
For veganuary.
For veganuary. Hey, it's your dietary decision. You sit there and you eat your grass. I don't know.
You can also have bran.
Yeah.
That's quite an old-fashioned one, and doesn't have any nutritional content at all.
Yeah. It's good for if they've done really, really strenuous exercise, like a day's hunting. You can make them a little bran mash, and a nice, comforting little meal for them.
And so with the bran mash, because it's a bit wet, it has a laxative effect.
Yeah.
And if it's dry, it has a constipating effect. But it inhibits calcium absorption, so you need to feed sparingly or with a calcium supplement. But fun fact on that, because I was talking to a woman I used to work for, who's like 75, edging on 80 now, and we were talking about it, and she said the reason that's an issue is because people used to just feed bran.
Fair enough.
Like back in the day. And she said that's why it's a big issue. She's like, if you feed them a handful of bran a day with fine. Other feed, you don't need to supplement because it's got the other things that are all balanced. But she's like, if you literally just feed half their feed or 3/4 of their feed as bran, they're going to need calcium.
Fair enough, I think.
Good times.
Is the last one you've got linseed?
3 more.
Ah.
Linseed's one of them, so you can get me the next one.
Linseed? The next one we're going to talk about. Linseed's really high in oil, but you can't feed it. It's poisonous if you just feed like a handful of linseed. So you have to cook it into a jelly or micronize it or other form of process it.
I feel like this is a YouTube video waiting to happen.
Your video of cooking linseed jelly. That because if like one little bit boils over, it drags the entire pan.
Yeah, you can make tea though, which is a bit weaker.
Okay. I feel like if we do a video of cooking linseed, we're gonna have to purposely let it boil over though.
So whose kitchen are we doing it in?
I mean, you can sell it to my mum.
Okay.
Good luck.
Because I can't sell it to my mum. She knows about this and she's like, it's not happening in my kitchen.
Well, you can try and sell it to my mum.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll do it on the bonfire or something else.
Yeah. We've got a camping stove.
that will help. That you won't have a camping stove for very long if we cover it in linseed jelly.
You can also feed your horse chaff, which is basically chopped hay or straw, and you can get alfalfa that's chopped up as well.
Yeah, and you can get stuff added to it. So you can get like molasses chaff, or you can get chaff with oil. You can get low energy chaff for good doers, that sort of stuff.
It's really good because it's another form of roughage.
Yeah.
And it encourages them to chew, which is good. And it
slows
can just
them down if they're a bolting food. Yeah.
And then sugar beet.
Yeah.
Another feed.
Sugar beet is made from
Sugar beet,
like no, it's made from like beet, yeah,
which is grown like a turnip.
Yeah, and is not that sugary if you taste it. Having tried, and you have to soak it because if you don't soak it, it expands in their stomach and it gives them impact from colic.
Yes, and the amount of time you soak it for depends on the form of the beet. So if it comes in cubes, like your pony nuts, 24 hours, or if it's flakes, probably like 3 hours. 10 minutes in hot water.
Yeah, 10 minutes. That's bean beet.
Yeah,
10 minutes in hot water.
But soak it for a little bit longer to be on the safe side.
Yeah, and if you can check it by if you pick it up and like mush it between two fingers quite hard, if there's any hard bits at all and it doesn't all just squish, then you want to keep it soaking, and it's not, you haven't left it for long enough. Hot water does make a lot of difference. We used to feed the Alan and Paige soakable feeds, and I had one that you had to soak it for 10 minutes, and I put hot water on it, and immediately it was done. Which is quite exciting. When I was pushed for time, and I was like, oh, it's ready!
Ta-da!
Yeah. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed us rerunning an episode. I feel like that was a lot more entertaining than our first run.
Yeah.
Because we're a lot more comfortable chatting in front of a camera than in front of a microphone.
In a camera. Just wait. One day they'll be recorded.
Oh, can you imagine? That means I'll have to shower.
So, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed it, we've got other pony care episodes that we've had out. We've done worming. Yeah. We've done about feet and ailments. There's one on ailments on there.
We've done loads. And if you don't want to scroll back through all of the different episodes on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you choose to listen to our dulcet tones, you can go to our YouTube channel because Alex has painstakingly gone through all of the episodes and put them all into helpful playlists for you.
Yeah, so there's one that's just pony care episodes.
Yeah.
There's one pony care episode, there's one that's on expert advice.
Yeah.
So that's when we've had people on like Claire with prohibited substances and Harry Mead.
Yeah.
And there's just lots of different playlists of different episodes.
Just because I know whenever I start a podcast and there's like a specific episode they reference, going back through like 100 episodes or 50 episodes, which is I think
this is number 50.
This is our 50th episode. It's a lot to sift through, so just go to YouTube and have a look there.
And also, which we'll be announcing next week, so you guys that are listening to this episode are one step ahead. We are now on the Flick app.
Yay!
The code to join is just the Pony Podcast, no capital letters, no spaces. And this episode will be up there and we'll make a group. So if you want to ask us any questions about feeding or you want to ask any other listeners any questions about feeding, you can just put it on a chat there and we can all see if we can help with your questions.
Yeah. You know, if you think we sound fun on this, we are even more fun when your messages come directly into our pockets.
Yes.
Promise. Promise. Absolutely great. The comedy value, the jokes never stop.
No.
Anyway, if you want to follow us on Instagram, follow us at The Pony Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at The Pony Podcast. And if you have any episode ideas that you want us to talk about or you want to learn more about, if you've got any comments that you want to make or you just want to get in touch for a chat, you can email theponypod@gmail.com. All right, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.